You're in a conversation, someone asks you a question, and while other people just answer, you're doing something else entirely. You're running simulations. What if I say it wrong? What if they misunderstand? What if there's a better way to phrase this? By the time you finish thinking, the moment has passed. Someone else answered, and you're left sitting there having had the perfect thing to say 3 beats too late. If that sounds familiar, this video is about you. Section 1. What's actually happening in that brain? People who think too much before speaking aren't just shy or slow. What's happening inside their minds is genuinely fascinating and more complex than most people realize. Psychologists call this tendency verbal self-monitoring, the degree to which a person carefully controls what they say before they say it. And high verbal self-monitors tend to share some striking traits. First, there's heightened metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking. While low self-monitors act on impulse, high self-monitors are running a constant internal commentary. Is this accurate? Is this kind? Is this how I actually feel? Second, many overthinkers before speaking score high in trait anxiety, specifically social anxiety, where the fear of negative evaluation from others makes every word feel like a potential landmine. And third, and this one surprises people, many of them are perfectionists, not about their work, about their words. They have an internal standard for communication that most people never even consider. Vague is not good enough. Imprecise is almost painful. So what you're watching when someone pauses, looks away, takes a breath before answering, isn't hesitation. It's craftsmanship. Section 2. The hidden strengths nobody talks about. Here's what's rarely said. This tendency isn't a flaw. It's a cognitive style, and it comes with real advantages. People who think before they speak tend to be better listeners. Because they're not busy formulating their next sentence while you're still talking, they actually absorb what you say. They catch nuance. They remember details. They're the friend who brings up something you mentioned 6 months ago. They're also often more trusted communicators in high-stakes situations. When a thoughtful person finally speaks, people lean in because they've learned that what comes out has been considered. In fields like law, medicine, therapy, and negotiation, this quality is not just valued, it's essential. There's also evidence from personality research, particularly work on the Big Five model, that conscientiousness and agreeableness, 2 traits strongly correlated with careful speech, predict better long-term relationship quality and professional reliability. And perhaps most importantly, people who think before speaking are less likely to cause accidental harm with words. They don't blurt, they don't weaponize. In a world full of reactive communication, that's a rare and underrated gift. Section 3. When it becomes a problem. But let's be honest, it can become a problem. When thinking before speaking tips into analysis paralysis, conversations become exhausting. The person misses their window. They undercontribute in meetings. They hold back opinions that would have genuinely helped. They weave interactions feeling like they didn't show up, even when they were physically present the whole time. There's also a psychological cost. Constantly editing yourself is cognitively expensive. Research on ego depletion suggests that the effort of self-regulation drains mental resources. People who monitor their speech intensely often feel more drained after social interaction than those who don't, even introverts who simply prefer solitude. And there's a paradox worth naming. The more someone fears saying the wrong thing, the more awkward silences they create, which ironically draws more attention than the imperfect words they were trying to avoid. There's also a deeper pattern hiding underneath for many people. A core belief that their unfiltered thoughts are somehow dangerous, unwelcome, or not enough. That belief usually didn't start in adulthood. It started in a childhood home or a classroom or a relationship where spontaneous expression was punished or dismissed. The overthinking is often old protection that outlived its usefulness. Section 4. What actually helps? So if you're someone who lives in this experience, what do you do with it? First, reframe the silence. Most people experience a pause before someone speaks as natural, even trustworthy. You experience it as embarrassing. That gap is usually much shorter in reality than it feels to you. Research on conversational timing suggests that pauses up to 3 or 4 seconds are barely noticed by listeners, but feel eternal to the person thinking. Second, practice good enough communication in low-stakes environments. Text a voice note instead of editing a typed message for 10 minutes. Speak up in a casual group conversation before the perfect moment. The goal isn't to stop thinking,
It's to lower the threshold at which you allow your thoughts to exit. Third, examine the belief underneath. Ask yourself, what do I actually fear will happen if I say something imperfect? Often, when people trace that fear honestly, they find it connects to a specific person or experience, not to reality as it currently exists. And fourth, recognize the value of your instinct. The world has no shortage of people who speak without thinking. Your tendency to think before you speak, when it's working for you, not against you, is a form of care. For the conversation, for the other person, for truth. The psychology of people who think too much before speaking is really the psychology of people who care deeply about getting it right. That care is worth protecting. It just doesn't need to be a cage. If this resonated with you, you probably already know someone who needs to hear it. Share it with them, or don't, and spend the next 20 minutes figuring out the exact right way to bring it up. I'm kidding. Mostly.